Whether it be a new team, retirement, or one more run with the Lakers, LeBron James has once again become a large topic of another NBA offseason. Will LeBron stay with the Lakers, or will he force his way to teams like the Cavaliers or the Warriors? Is he going to retire, or will he ride it out until he plays with Bryce James? In theory, the Lakers should become better by trading him for defensive wings, and it seems that LeBron may share a similar sentiment, especially since LA's roster is lacking in promising young players, with the best under 26 talents being Dalton Connect followed by Bronny James. But would teams in the NBA really want a 40-year-old player making $50 million yearly to be on their team? Countless questions are being raised by the hour, but one stands out in particular from the rest. Could the 4-time Finals MVP and 21-time All-Star defeat the heavenly principles of Teyvat from the hit game Genshin Impact? Arguably the greatest player of all time versus the creator of Teyvat's laws. So without further ado, let us analyze the matchup and figure out if the king can defeat a god.
Hey, but 2000 excursion, 44 bird, tryna hit the boogie.
Let's firstly start by examining the strengths and weaknesses of LeBron James. He stands at 6 foot 9 inches or 2.06 meters tall. His weight is at 113 kilograms or 250 pounds. LeBron has an extremely athletic build with size and speed at his disposal. Matter of fact, his speed would be unmatched in Teyvat. To prove this, I ran a little experiment comparing the running speed of characters without the use of visions versus LeBron's top speed. For this experiment, I used Clarand, who is the fastest character in Genshin, when using a vision by a large margin. The distance from the bridge to inside Mondstadt is 111 meters. So from here, I simply ran from inside the city all the way to the end of the bridge. Clarand clocked in at 15.29 seconds, but if we look at her dashing speed, we get 13.79 seconds. We'll use both of these times and convert them into her top speed. The equation for speed is distance over time, so 111 meters over both times separately, which gives us 7.26 meters per second and 8.05 meters per second respectively. Let's keep both those values in mind as we now look over at LeBron's top speed. According to a quick Google search, LeBron's top speed sits at around 32.2 kilometers per hour. So if we just run a quick conversion, we end up with LeBron's top speed in meters per second, which sits at 8.94 meters per second. This shows how LeBron James would not just be a larger and heavier frame than most of Teyvat's population, he would also be considerably faster than all of them in terms of raw speed. And characters like Clarand have moved at light speed using their visions before, so it's reasonable for us to believe that LeBron with a vision would be able to move faster than almost all of Teyvat's human population. And to add on to this, the tallest playable character in-game is Ito, who stands at 6 foot 2 inches, while LeBron is 6 foot 9 inches. And to put that into perspective, here's LeBron James next to 6 foot 2 Patrick Beverley. And yes, this man who plays for an Israeli basketball team is the same height as Ito. And keep in mind that the average height in Genshin Impact is roughly 5 foot 6, with characters like Eula, Raiden, and Kujo Sara being considered as tall. But a lot of characters like the Traveler, Venti, Sino, and much more stand at only 5 foot 3. To put them into comparison, here's LeBron James next to 5 foot 3 Kai Cenat. The only character I know of that actually stands normal next to LeBron would be Capitano, who stands at 6'7", and that dude's the strongest harbinger besides Piero. So LeBron's sheer physical build would put him above most of the universe, but what about his elemental powers? If you watch my video on NBA players in Genshin Impact, you should be aware that I believe LeBron James would be a Pyro user. And from what we have seen in game, Pyro can do many things to a vision holder. Infusing into weapons is the first one that comes to mind, with basically every Pyro user having an ability tying to this skill. But it can also be used to create shields, as seen with characters like Toma and Shinya. And when it comes to elemental bursts, it usually results in massive amounts of damage. Now the thing is, I believe LeBron's combat would be a mix of Dehya and Bennett. If you're as big and strong as LeBron is, it's probably better to just have Pyro infused into a smaller and faster sword. This would allow him to stay mobile in combat and focus more on directing the enemy's attention. And I say this because that's literally how he plays on the fucking Lakers. You'll notice how teams want LeBron to space the floor, since trying to guard him on the interior is basically the basketball equivalent to spreading your ass cheeks wide open and telling him to just put it in. And again, since LeBron would be Goliath in Teyvat, he can power his way through most of his matchups. Not only could they not keep up with his speed, but they would also have to put in double power to damage him compared to other people. For one, you already saw how much plot armor was needed for Mavuika to put a dent into Capitano. So imagine trying to do that against LeBron James, who is not only faster but possibly stronger than Capitano. And I haven't mentioned how LeBron would be a strong support unit as well. LeBron's ability to know where his teammates are on the court, along with reading enemy positions to make the right play, would certainly translate into battle IQ. If LeBron is able to study his opponents mid-fight, then even the heavenly principles may fall in the presence of the king. Not to mention that we haven't talked about artifacts yet, which would make him even stronger than we already have him. I have 2 more strengths to talk about, but I'll be saving those for later. For now, let's talk about LeBron's 3 major weaknesses. Number 1, isolation. You'll notice how most of the important fights in Genshin Impact are usually just 2 dudes throwing hands until one of them falls. The only real large-scale fight was the one fight in the Inazuma Civil War, but that one was solved by Kokomi bullshit. But again, there's not many fights in game that are full teams fighting each other. It's usually just 1-on-4 jumpings or just straight ones. Looking at statistics, LeBron's isolation percentage in basketball is 47.1% success. By all means, this is not a bad percentage, but it still isn't enough if he's going to be going up against literal gods. So for this reason, as much as I want to say he could, LeBron unfortunately can't just solo the heavenly principles by himself head on. The second weakness would be his intel on the heavenly principles. Not much is known about them other than the fact that they're asleep and not doing shit. So since LeBron doesn't know their strengths and weaknesses, he's basically fighting them blind and having to rely on his sheer power. And finally, his third weakness, which is zoning. It's highly unlikely that LeBron would be able to stop an opponent from rushing straight into him. This means that LeBron would have to stay aggressive throughout his fights and cannot afford to switch to defense, since if he does, it's likely that he'll get chased and pummeled to death. So with all this information at hand, we can determine that LeBron James would be a threat through his leadership and speed in combat. So now let's take a look at his matchup, the Heavenly Principles. The Heavenly Principles is an omnipotent being that created the rules of Teyvat and are also the first descender. They defeated the second descender, cursed multiple people, and are basically God. However, it is a well-known fact that their fraudulent ass has been asleep since the Cataclysm 500 years ago, and as of now, basically half of the strong people population of Teyvat wants to fucking kill them. And the thing is, it's definitely possible to kill God in this universe. As mentioned by Piero in the interlude teaser that dropped on a random ass Wednesday in July, even the gods have their limits. Which is why I would like to theorize that the heavenly principles can in fact be destroyed so long as there is another descender present. If you're not too familiar with what a descender is, basically these are people that have the ability to just straight up change the plot. Think like fixing the problems of literally every nation in the continent. We do actually know of a descender that fought the heavenly principles, that being the second descender who failed and is the reason why Enkanomiya is stuck in the forever box. But anyways, the heavenly principles are not to be joked around with and are certainly a powerful foe no matter how you view them. So now let's take the two sides and pit them against one another. We'll say that the Shades are not fighting with the heavenly principles. Instead, it's just LeBron fighting the heavenly principles with whatever he has at his disposal. And if we were to say that LeBron would be up on the heavenly principles right now, well then that would mean that the heavenly principles would still be sleeping and LeBron could just backdoor them and win the fight. Okay, but seriously, if we're saying that this is a head-on fight, then what are LeBron's chances of winning? By himself, LeBron has a good mix of fighting abilities and would give himself a decent chance of defeating God. But I haven't mentioned the real parts of LeBron that would make him victorious against the principles. The first one being the fact that LeBron is a descender. This opens a whole new realm of possibilities. All descenders can wield the 7 elements, as the Gnosis were created using the remains of the third descender. LeBron would also have the ability to change the fate of Teyvat, meaning that he would actually be able to defeat the heavenly principles. As such, I would give LeBron a 50% chance of winning against the principles in a head-on fight. But how can we guarantee the victory of LeBron James? The answer is within the final strength of LeBron: his LeGM form. If LeBron really wanted to destroy the heavenly principles, he would make moves to form a super team and guarantee victory. First is recruiting the Traveler along with the Fatui Harbingers. This would not only give him another descender at his disposal, but also 6 Gnosis to use in combat. Next would be recruiting Albedo, who has already went against the laws of the heavenly principles without consequence. And finally, he would also bring Bronny James to the fight as a second version of himself in case he gets injured. The addition of these forces would bring LeBron's chances of winning up to 95%. But why not 100%? Well, that's because you have to remember that the Heavenly Principles has already killed 2 Descenders at this point and has the power to flood the entirety of Teyvat if they really wanted to. So it would take someone of God level powers to also fight the Heavenly Principles. Which is why I would like to reveal LeBron's final asset.
just switched sides? You make it sound like such a trivial affair. We are shades, shadows of the heavenly principles. It's unthinkable, unless she loves her new master more than her own self.
Stuff. Bounce it off the floor and let LeBron.
Look, I be riding through my old hood, but I'm in my new whip. Same old attitude, but I'm on that new shit. They say they gon' ride me. See me now.
So with the facts settled, it's clear that the legendary small forward for the Los Angeles Lakers would certainly be able to defeat the heavenly principles of Teyvat.